I want to welcome you all and thank you for taking your time to come and talk to us and listen. Just a bit of history. I, many years ago, was watching HBO Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, and they did an episode on the nonprofit called Work to Ride based in Philadelphia. And I hadn't heard of it before, but I was really just absolutely blown away by the work that they do. And as it turns out, Kareem was highlighted in that episode. And I want to say, Kareem, how old were you in that original episode?
I was probably 9 or 10.
I thought it was really, so it was just a couple of years ago. And and gosh, I mean, I was just blown away. So flash forward to this past fall, and Nikki, who my colleague, who is a voracious reader, and we had talked about this episode of Work to Ride on HBO Real Sports, and she said, "Did you know that Kareem Rosser has a memoir that's coming out in February?" So I just was, super excited and reached out to Kareem to see if he would come and talk to us about his memoir. And I think that maybe once we get talking a little bit, it'll become a little more evident. But based on the work that we do at Medicine Horse with mental health and wellness and therapy programs with horses, and also Kareem's work at that program, and then now also being an executive director of the Friends of Work to Ride, and then and the connection to Colorado, for me, it just seemed to make a ton of sense. So I was just really happy that, Kareem, you were willing to do this with us and jump on here and talk to us. So thank you for that.
I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. So what I'm going to do now, just real quickly, because I'm going to assume that not everybody has had a chance yet to read Kareem's memoir, or maybe know a whole bunch about the Work to Ride program. So what I'll do right now is I'm going to share a video. It's just it's off of YouTube, and if you want the link to this video, it is normally a kind of 11.5 minutes long. So we're only showing about a minute 30 seconds of this, and to kind of just give everyone a quick level set of Kareem, the Work to Ride program, sort of where Kareem is coming from. And so yeah, we'll just show that real quickly here, and then we will come right back and talk some more. Give me 1 second while I launch this. Oh, and Kareem in this particular video is 18. So again, just last year.
Yeah.
Police are still looking for the shooter.
In a West Philadelphia neighborhood called The Bottom, there is little way up.
It's not much here. Killings, violence, drug deals, people, just constantly fighting. No one's happy, It's just it's the bottom of, society.
Growing up, Kareem Rosser feared these streets.
I used to live right here. This is my old house. My younger sisters watched my uncle, get murdered right across the street from here. Some guy just, runs out of this alley here.
This alley here?
Yeah, and then just, open fire.
For Kareem, now 18, the only way up was to get out, to the unlikeliest of places, a world he didn't even know existed, and a game known as the Sport of Kings.
I knew nothing about polo. I mean, maybe the clothing line. I was oblivious to the fact that polo was actual and real sport.
Kareem's journey started here 10 years ago when he was 8 years old. Deep inside of Philadelphia Park, 3 miles away from his house, his two older brothers had stumbled on Chamonix stables.
And then we fade to the cover of Kareem's new memoir called Crossing the Line. So that's just a quick intro and segue and background for those of you that haven't had a chance to read Kareem's memoir yet. In the chat we have the link to the bookstore called Tattered Cover in Denver, and they're selling, you can go to that location, and when you buy that particular book from Tattered Cover, of course you can get it through any of your online bookstores, but if you order it through Tattered Cover, it'll be a signed edition, so something special if you do it that way. So without further ado, Kareem, I'm just going to jump in, and I wanted to talk to you real quickly, or ask you about, I know you know here in Boulder that we had the shooting on Monday.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think a lot of folks here in the neighborhood are suffering with a lot of the trauma from that. And
Yeah.
I know that what happened here in Boulder isn't what you and your family and friends lived through on a daily basis, but I was just wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how you managed.
Yeah, no, I mean, first, I want to, send my heart out to all the families that are affected, by the horrific, just incident there in Boulder. As you mentioned, it's a bit different in kind of what's going on in West Philadelphia, where I grew up in the bottom. But, losing someone is losing someone, regardless of if it's, like a horrific act, like, Monday, what happened in Boulder, or, if it's someone, targeting an individual. It's terrible. Loss is loss is loss. And, for me personally, when I dealt with, losing, one of my siblings or my closest friend, it took me some time to get over that, and I hope the families that are affected by this, that, they're able to heal, as fast as they can. But, it is, it's a real issue, gun violence in America, and particularly in my neighborhood where I grew up, families are dealing with it every day. Last year, I want to say Philadelphia had nearly 500 homicides, and my brother being one of those individuals. It was tough to deal with it. And, so, I can, personally, relate to some of the victims, or at least some of the families of the victims who lost people this past Monday. So, it's terrible. And, and I really hope that, at some point as a country, we can come together and figure out a solution, and to kind of really, address the gun issue that we face here in the country.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So this is a little bit of a dovetail into that, with Medicine Horse doing mental health and wellness and therapy and trauma, loss, grief, for a lot of the different things that we work with at our location and our facility. And when I was watching your interview on February 11th on the Today Show, you had said to Chanel that I'm not the only kid who showed up to the barn that was suffering, I think you had said panic attacks and anxiety.
Yeah.
And then you said also, it's amazing what horses can do.
Yeah.
I was just hoping you could share some more about those kind of experiences with how the horses helped.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I cover in the book, I talk about, my the mental health issues that I dealt with as a young boy, and, particularly, pertaining to me losing, one of my closest friend when I was 10 years old, her name was Mecca Harris. And, she was 14 at the time when her mother and her father were all, murdered and shot in the head in her basement home. And, when I was a kid, I would hear, people who were murdered and there's stuff that was going on around me all the time. But I was, it never dawned on me that as a kid, that I could also lose my life. And then so when I lost my friend Mecca, it took a toll on my mental health, because I realized that I was also, that I was vulnerable, and that, there was a chance that I could lose my life at a young age. And so for many years, I thought I was suffering from, some sort of respiratory problem, but little did I know that I was actually dealing with panic attacks, and, I just remember the nights where I wouldn't shut my lights off because I was afraid that I wasn't going to wake up the next day. I was concerned about someone else, running into my home and murdering myself and my family members. because that was the reality of where we grew up. You know, uh, in ways that I dealt with it, or at least ways that I felt that where I was most safe, and that was at the stables. So whenever I would go to the work to ride stables or go to the barn, all of that anxiety and my panic attacks would go away. And then I realized that the way to deal with it was to just be at the barn and find that peace of mind, because whenever I was with the horses, all that would just sort of that would just fade away. And I realized that the distraction of the horses was ultimately my medicine.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know that you're also working as the executive director of the Friends of Work to Ride. And I was wondering if you would share with everybody a little bit more about who Work to Ride is and what they do, and maybe if you guys have any plans, any things on the horizon that we could that you're able to share.
Yeah. So I actually stepped down as the ED of Friends of Work to Ride, and now serve on the Work to Ride board. So I'm a board member of the Work to Ride organization, serving our executive committee. But we're a Philadelphia-based nonprofit that serves low-income families here in Philly. It was founded by a woman named Lezlie Hiner back in '94. So she still serves as the executive director of the organization. But Leslie's goal was to take, kids from here in the inner city of Philadelphia, from low-income families, and basically give them an opportunity they normally wouldn't have, and expose them to a world that, many people like myself had no idea existed outside of the impoverished communities that we grew up here in Philadelphia. And, Leslie used horses as an incentive to I guess, be able to give the kids purpose and teach them responsibility and just life skills that many of the kids, including myself, lacked, back at home. And, that transformed into, kids learning how to play polo like myself, which led to, scholarships, both at high school and at a collegiate level. And Leslie had this vision, and she dedicated her entire life to serving, underserved kids here in Philadelphia, and also, taking in donated horses that, ultimately would probably have ended up at a kill shelter. So what she's done over the last, 2 decades has been incredible. Just our commitment to Philadelphia and serving, underserved communities here in Philly. And I was, fortunately one of those kids, along with my other siblings, to go through the Work to Ride program. That is, still serving Philadelphia. And we're now, focused on expanding our organization and hoping to serve more kids here. So we're looking to build a new indoor riding facility here in Philly, creating an endowment that will allow us to sustain our organization moving forward. And so I've had the privilege of leading the capital campaign, which we are in the middle of now, to secure funds to further the program.
Great. Nice. I mean, the work you guys are doing is really wonderful. Is that so? And I think I read in your book that you didn't have an indoor arena when you were riding at the barn.
Yeah, no, we didn't. That was one of the things that, as a kid, or especially for Leslie growing up in the organization, we always wish we had an indoor facility, because during the winter months, things kind of slowed down for us. As the ground froze, we weren't able to get outside and ride and practice. So when we were playing games, polo games at the time, it was basically we were practicing and playing a game at the same time, because we really didn't have much of an opportunity to ride outside of, if it was cold outside or the ground was frozen, there was nothing we could do about it. So for a good portion of the year, particularly in the winter months, we weren't riding much. But that's also during one of the times where we were competing at the same time. So, not having that facility to train year round, 7 days a week, we were at a disadvantage, but we didn't let that stop us from going on to kind of achieving the ultimate goal and winning.
Yeah, which is awesome. Okay, well, thank you. I want to move on. I'm kind of, I'm after having read the book, I feel like I have questions on every single topic. So I
Yeah.
could be here all day.
No, absolutely.
So I wanted to kind of switch more a little bit and ask about the book and your process. And
Yeah.
I was just curious, what was the catalyst to you deciding to write this memoir?
Yeah, so as you showed the clip earlier, right before we started, my story, our story has been covered for almost a couple of decades now. And, there's always been this kind of high level overview of our story and where we come from. And, we were, these group of African American kids who grew up in this place called the Bottom. And, we were the first to win a national polo championship, the first all African American team to win a national polo championship. And we all, we grew up riding in the stable, and that was kind of the narrative, and it kind of ended there. And many people didn't know all the details of the story. And I thought it was important for me to kind of really detail, who we are and in the organization and Leslie's commitment, because I wanted to write about, my experiences and some of the things that I think would ultimately, touch people in a way, many people just didn't know about. So, I wanted to, ultimately decided to write the book because I thought there was so much, there was a ton of untold stories and untold things that I thought were important to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's super interesting. I'm glad you did it. And how long did it take you to write?
It was probably, I want to say almost like an 18-month process from, putting together a proposal through the final, editing version, and it was a great process just because it's something that I've never really thought about doing until, back, I guess, up until 2018 when I started the process. And, it was neat. It was really neat to sit there and to put everything down on paper, as well as really, kind of relive a lot of those moments. Some of them were tough, but also there were, also great moments. And it was, it was neat to see my progress from a young boy into the person who I am today.
Yeah. It was, I was thinking, although we've never met before, today, I felt like, you, and I could hear your voice as I was reading, your story. And, so I just feel like you have a great talent for it, which kind of begs the question, are you thinking you might have more books coming potentially?
I would hope so. I like to think, I'm just 28 right now, so I like to think that I still have a long life ahead of me, and hopefully there's going to be, more success in the near future. And I think, there's still a lot to write about the organization as well. And there are other kids who are coming up through the program now, who are doing very well. So, if it's not about myself, maybe it's, partnering with another kid and telling someone else's story.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. So I'm also curious because you had a lot of really intensely honest and personal things that you talked about in the book. Some stuff with your family, and there was a little bit about one of your benefactors from when you were at Valley Forge.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was just wondering, I could see you smiling. I'm just wondering, was any of that, like, what was the reaction? Was everybody okay with it? Did you
Yeah,
hear?
yeah, at least, it took me some time to chat with my family because, as you mentioned, there are a lot of personal stories, in particular, my mother. I talked about my mother's struggle with addiction and just abusive relationships that she dealt with, as when I was a young boy. And then also, my older brothers who, decided to go a different route than myself and my younger brother, Damar, kind of talking with them and asking them to, allow me to tell our story. It was a work in progress, but everyone eventually realized that it was important for us to talk about it because we thought that, we could help other people. If it's me talking about my mental health and my mom talking about her battle with addiction and how she overcame that, and and my brothers, admitting to their mistakes and opening up about how they would, the things that they regret and what they've learned. you know, and sharing all the struggles about the Work to Ride organization as well. You know, there were times where we didn't have funds to really, you know, take care of the horses in the proper way or to go and travel. So, you know, there were a lot of struggling moments, but there are also great moments that are covered in the book. And, you know, so there was a process, just kind of getting everyone to agree to that. But ultimately, you know, we all realized that it was important to tell our story.
Yeah, no, and it's so incredible. And I'm glad that you were able to navigate those waters. Reading again, having read the tales, I thought that it felt like you were really sensitive and very caring with how you know, talked about those different topics. And also like you said too, the positive things, you know, like the big wins and all the polo games and all of it. It was really kind of a roller coaster ride to read the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, a bunch of us have kind of back channel talked about, we think that it should be made into a movie. I don't know if that's, I don't know if you can tell us if that's ever been discussed with you or not, but
yeah, no, there's actually a lot of conversation about adapting the book into a feature film. So, you know, I think that's in the works, and hopefully, you know, that's something that we'll see, you know, happen in the next couple of years. But people have approached me and have approached the organization in the past as well about, you know, putting together a feature film about our life story. So hopefully we'll have our first polo movie soon.
oh, that would be excellent. So, you know, who would you have cast as you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it would have to be a younger version of myself. The older version of myself, I have no idea. You know, I get that question all the time. I think there are a lot of talented African Americans actors out there. You know, so hopefully it's someone good.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
my friend Jason here in Colorado just raised his hand. He said he'd be happy to play your character.
Got it. I'll make sure we give you a phone call, Jason.
So anyway, CSU, and I know you led the team to a national collegiate championship. And I was wondering if you could tell us about how you chose to come to Colorado and CSU, because I know you had a lot of different opportunities. Just wondering why you came here.
Yeah, no, you know, to be honest, CSU was not my first choice. So
Oh,
I'll have to be honest about that. But I spent a year in New York, outside of Ithaca, New York, and I actually wanted to go play polo at Cornell. And it didn't work out there. And so CSU was my second choice. But I think it was still one of the best choices I've ever made in my life today is to travel, you know, from Philly to out west to Colorado. And, you know, I remember, you know, packing up my things and putting all my belongings in the back of the truck and driving out west. And you know, we were driving and I get to Kansas, or we're driving through Kansas, and I see, you know, nothing but like cornfields and cows everywhere. And this is me leaving, you know, Philadelphia. And, I'm, you know, wondering to myself, did I make a huge mistake? What am I doing? Why am I leaving Philadelphia for this place? And, you know, I arrived at Fort Collins, and fortunately, I see it in a small town. I see stores, I see restaurants. So there's a little urban feel to it, but nothing, you know, nothing big. And then ultimately, you know, I showed up there, and I knew a couple of the polo players who were a part of the organization or part of the team when I got there. And you know, they had a very good program. And, you know, fortunately, you know, I met a great group of people, and, you know, it led to, you know, a national championship and you know, and a couple, you know, personal awards. And, you know, I like to think that it was kind of, you know, a good choice for me, and probably arguably, you know, kind of probably the best 4 years of my life.
well, that's good. Here, I mean, we all, obviously, everyone in Colorado. Well, I did reach out to let folks at CSU and the polo community up there know that we were going to be talking to you. So they were really excited and wrote back, and you know, I feel like you're definitely part of the family there, and everyone's super proud.
No, it's an incredible institution, and I'm always proud to call myself a Ram.
Nice. And so I was one. This is kind of a polo, and so now I have a few kind of fun questions. And so I was just wondering if you could put together your dream team, polo team, people and horses. Who would it be?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. You know, as a kid, my brothers and I, we would always talk about having a family team, and I addressed that in the book as well. You know, so it was, you know, there are a few polo family teams today who dominates the sport, and you know, I always envision that being my brothers one day. So, you know, my dream team would be myself and my three brothers, or my twin sister. You know, and if I think about, you know, horses, it would be some of the horses that, you know, that I grew up riding. You know, if I could have some of the ones who aren't here today. You know, in the book I talk about, you know, a horse named Buck, and then, you know, my pony Angel, but maybe Angel actually, she wouldn't work out. She'd be a little too small and too slow. You know, but yeah, you know, I just think about some of the horses that changed my life, and you know, that I bonded with over the years you know, at Work to Ride. But you know, my dream team would be a family team for sure.
Nice. So I know you had mentioned earlier that the ponies that you had at Work to Ride were primarily rescued or
Hmm.
donated.
Yeah.
Is that still the case today, or are they coming from different places now?
Yeah, no, well, majority of the horses are all rescue donated ponies. You know, we rescue some off the track thoroughbreds. You know, we get horses that are you know, or at least polo horses that are kind of, they can't play at a high level anymore, and that works out for the kids and the other programs at Work to Ride. You know, and then sometimes we go to the auction and we'll find a horse that may, you know, work out for the organization. But for the most part, they're all donated ponies, and you know, horses that need second homes.
Nice. So how many horses are there right now?
I think we have 35 horses right now, which is a lot for us. So
Yeah.
I think, and a lot of them are older horses. I mean, there we have a few horses. You know, I think we have a pony now. I think she's probably 35 or 36, and she was there when I first got there. And I also, I don't know, I probably ran a dozen pony races on her as well. But she's still going strong. Well, no one's right. She's retired. She's just hanging out. But it's really neat just to see some of the horses. You know, they're older than me, and you know, and that kind of carried me around for many years.
That's amazing. Um, so I was thinking that there's quite a few of us on the call right now, and you know, we like to ride a little bit, and but not. I'm trying to imagine riding around, you know, as fast as you can, and swinging a mallet. And
Yeah, yeah,
I know for sure I would definitely end up on the ground.
yeah.
And I was just curious, you know, you must have some funny stories about, you know, everybody, especially when you're learning and you guys were little kiddos.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, picking up a mallet for the first time, it is intimidating, especially when you're still trying to figure out how to ride and stay on, and then you're also on a, you know, a hand-me-down horse that has some sort of issue. You know, but yeah, I mean, there's so many, like, you know, cool stories that I can think of. You know, just even learning to ride and play with my older brother. You know, just, you know, picking up a mallet and swinging and then swinging too hard and falling over, you know, falling off the side of the horse because you swung too hard and the momentum, you know, carried you off. You know, just, you know, getting, you know, riding a new horse for the first time and getting bucked off, you know, or taking it off the, you know, off a track thoroughbred who has never seen a polo mallet, and we're, you know, we're swinging a polo mallet for the first time, and it spooks the horse, and you know, we end up on the ground. So I have so many stories, and I've fallen off so many times. You know, just trying new things on a new horse, or introducing a horse to polo. Sometimes it works out well, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it takes a lot of bravery, I think. I
No,
know
absolutely.
at this advanced age, I wouldn't try it.
Yeah, I've definitely slowed down quite a bit too. I'm not into you know, getting on a young horse anymore and introducing it to polo.
Yeah.
Despite me only being 28, I find myself getting too old too.
Well, so I was thinking about this. You have a degree in economics from CSU, and
Yes,
you're a financial analyst at an asset management firm.
yes,
And then you are a polo player. I know you're busy, so you're not playing as often as you were, but and apparently polo is the second most dangerous sport in the
yes.
world. I feel like there's kind of a dichotomy there between um, asset management and finance, and then the second most dangerous sport in the world. So, is this like a superhero kind of secret identity thing?
No, there's a lot of risk in both, right? So, so I'm used to taking risk, and yeah, it, and both worlds are sort of fast-paced worlds at the same time. I think about kind of my day job and what it requires, and we were chatting earlier, me getting up at 5 in the morning, and just kind of preparing myself for the day, and getting things going. And it's no different than me getting up at 5:30 to go ride a set of polo ponies on the track and exercising them, before a polo practice or before a polo game, or just, being at the barn early and feeding horses and mucking stalls. There's a lot that kind of actually, now that that I think about it, kind of goes hands in hand with my day job in the office. I never thought that I would miss mucking stalls as much as I do now, but I certainly, I've, kind of, I guess, gained a greater appreciation for mucking stalls, because it's very therapeutic, believe it or not. When you're in the barn and you're, just picking up horse crap and throwing it in the barrel, and then pushing a wheelbarrow to the muck pile. I kind of think about that when I'm in the office now, and how much I miss that. But as I remember as a kid, I did not think that I'll ever miss mucking stalls, but I'm going to sadly admit and say that I do.
Okay, so that wouldn't be listed as your least favorite barn chore.
Right. No, I think my least favorite barn chore is probably cleaning a water bucket in -degree weather. Is probably my least favorite barn chore. But I always try to figure out how to avoid cleaning buckets in the middle of winter. But it's just one of those things that you can't avoid.
So I was wondering, so I know you've traveled around the world to play polo, and are
Yeah.
there any places, sort of foreign, far-flung locations that really stick out in your memory that you really loved?
Yeah, I would say one of my favorite places, I think, today is Nigeria. I played polo in Nigeria over 4 or 5 times. Each time I would spend nearly 2.5, maybe 3 weeks there, maybe 2 weeks. Um, but just the culture, the people, going to this, developing country, and then, playing this insane sport. It was incredible. The one thing that I was always afraid of was getting hurt there, because I just did not want to get hurt in Nigeria. I just think wouldn't be the best place to end up in the hospital. But aside from that, I mean, the people are incredible, and growing up where I grew up in the bottom in West Philly, I thought life was bad. But then you go to places like Nigeria and you see other struggling people, you start to really appreciate more some of the things that you have back at home, and in the relationships that myself and some of the other players have built with folks over there. It's just it's great, and it's been a while since I've been over there. So I would love to get back when I get an opportunity to, just because it was just each time was incredible.
Well, that's interesting. I would have never guessed. I was trying to think in my mind, and I was thinking you might have said Argentina.
Yeah,
So,
no, I've been to Argentina multiple times, and loved it as well. But it's just you don't really think about polo in Africa, and then just again, just the culture and the people, and also the fact that it's not, it's something it's only accessible to the really elite people in places like Africa, whereas here, you can argue the same thing, but there it's easier for me to access polo than someone else in Nigeria, for sure. And in Argentina, it's the infrastructure there is incredible. and it's set up for pretty much anyone to play there.
Right. Well, um, well, I just wanted to say before I turn it over to the question section, and so anybody out there, if you have a question, please go ahead and put that in the chat area there. Nikki, my colleague, and also one of our board members is going to be asking Kareem all the burning questions that you have. But Kareem, I just wanted to put it out there and say, next time you're here in Colorado, we'd love to have you out and give you a tour of the facility where we work and go for a ride.
No, I would love to, and I'm there very often, at least a few times a year. Colorado is my second home for sure. And I hope that I can, get an opportunity to spend a little more time there again. Not just 1 or 2 weeks at a time. So I'll certainly take you up on an offer to come out and ride.
Excellent. We're looking forward to it. All right, Nikki, it's all you.
Yeah, great. So we've got a few questions already, but keep them coming and I'll just keep reading them out. But the first few we have there's a few of them, they're kind of all connected to Work to Ride. And the first one is just a question about whether or not this program is being duplicated in other cities, or if you have plans to expand the model and the program to other cities, or whether other organizations have come out to kind of learn about your model and duplicate it.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we get that question all the time. So I've mentioned briefly early on that, we're working on, building a new facility here in Philly. And then part of this expansion plan and growing the Philadelphia base is to hopefully someday roll out the Work to Ride model in other cities. We're focusing on stabilizing Philly. But we hope that we can, I guess, in a way, sort of franchise this and put it in places, like Houston or Denver, and talk about like Miami. There's a few places that we have in mind. Chicago. I know there are some other programs similar to Work to Ride, but they don't have the polo aspect to it. But we're hoping that we can take this model and replicate it and hopefully put it in other cities where if the infrastructure is there, we can help other struggling communities.
Yeah, great. Well, if you end up in Denver, let us know.
Absolutely.
So the next question is, you mentioned you have about 30 to 35 horses, and this question is just wondering about how many kids are involved in the program kind of over the years. Just curious about how many people are participating.
Yeah, so so between all of our programs, we have a lesson program, a summer camp program, and our Work to Ride program. We do a lot of community-based programs with schools and churches in our area. We service more than a couple thousand kids a year between all of those programs there. We're hoping with our new facility at some point, and in our growing staff, that we can increase that number significantly to help more people. And then if we can roll this model out to other places around the country, and we would love to do is to serve as many kids as we can.
Yeah, great. Let's see, we got some good questions coming in. I have this question as well. Someone wants to know if your sponsor, the person who sponsored you at Valley Forge, ever did come to watch you play polo.
No, he's never come watch me play polo. I think the last time I had a word with him was probably a couple years ago. So we, as I detail in the book, our relationship is a little rocky, but I'm still very grateful for his support and just glad that he believed in me enough to want to back me and pay for my high school education. So unfortunately we haven't talked much, but I hope he's well and I'm very thankful for his support.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. This one isn't a question, but I'm going to read it out because I feel the same way, and I'm sure everyone else does
Yeah.
too. But this person just says, I was truly moved by your book and sent it to 5 people, including my 2 daughters in their 20s. Your story is inspiring and your writing is beautiful. And I know Natalie asked that question about writing another book, and I really hope you do. I loved your book so much, and it sounds like many other people did as well.
No,
So,
thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate everyone who purchased a copy and supported the book.
Yeah, it was really an incredible read. And this is related to being a writer. So for fellow authors, what are some of your best learnings and suggestions around publishing a book in the equine and equestrian world?
You know, that's a good question. I haven't had that one yet, actually. You know, I think just kind of it's really just being patient and, for me going through the process was just, being patient and trying to figure out you know, how to, take everything and put it together in a way that it would, resonate and touch people. But, I guess my advice would just sort of just be patient and kind of start writing things as it comes to you.
Yeah, great. Sorry, I'm trying to listen and read at the same time.
That's okay.
I'm listening. Yeah, let's see. There's so many. Thank you guys for sending so many questions. So this one is a good one, I think. Says, horses are unique animals with incredible capacity to teach and facilitate therapy. And I'm going to just summarize it here, but there's so much wealth and privilege in the equestrian world.
Mm-hmm.
And this person is just wondering what you and your organization through Work to Ride, like what your broader vision is for how horses and equine therapy or just being engaged in horses can be made more accessible.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. There's just been a whole lot of conversation, in particular kind of to polo, polo being this elite exclusive sport, and there are so many barriers to entry. We all know as horses are expensive. There's just no way around it. The cost of feed, it is what it is, and cost of hay, all that stuff that's just expensive. But I don't think that means we can't find ways to give people who don't have the means access to the equine world. We think about organizations like Work to Ride, or your organization, Natalie, as well, and what you guys are doing. I think there are ways for people to come together, and I think it's just taking the individuals who have the means or who have facilities or just horses and just opening it up to people who can't afford it. I think of I imagine there are many people out there who'll be willing to come in muck stalls in exchange for riding, and I think, opening doors and exposing people sorry, my cat is jumping in the shot here, and exposing people that way, I think that there's an opportunity. But, for me personally, I'm hoping that we're able to create more Work to Rides or create avenues where we can expose people in the underserved communities to horses, because they're powerful creatures, and their ability to change individuals' lives, it's incredible. So I know it's definitely a personal goal of mine to figure out how to continue to make it accessible to people who do not have the means to pay for a horse.
Yeah, I think we would absolutely echo that as well. At Medicine Horse, it's something we spend a lot of time thinking about as well, just because we know the power of horses and being around them. So one of the other questions is just, what is one of the biggest hurdles that you're facing in Work to Ride, and especially as you think about expanding that model? Is it finding horses, or funding, or land, or transportation, or just what are some of the challenges?
I think the biggest hurdle, especially for a lot of nonprofits, is it's funding. But we've been working with the city here in Philadelphia and other private donors. So we're kind of halfway at our goal now, to build our new riding facility and to seed an endowment. But I think definitely the biggest hurdle, you would say, funding. But fortunately, the city's supporting us We have a great board, and so hopefully, I think once most people get past the funding stage, I think everything else sort of falls in place.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody wants to know your cats, or I guess the one that was on screen. They want to know what the cat's name is.
Oh, that was Nora. That was my cat, Nora.
Nora.
And Nora is a boy. So so Nora is this funny story, to digress for a second. I did not know how to sex a cat. I'm gonna shamefully say that. And I was told Nora was a boy, and I named Nora assuming until I took Nora to the vet and I learned that Nora was a girl. So now Nora is a boy cat named Nora. So he's a sweetheart.
Very cute. And I know I have my dog here. I think we all have our animals that are making their appearances on our Zoom calls. Well, this goes to an earlier point about the movie. This person says you have a great demeanor and screen presence, and that you should consider being yourself in a movie version. I think we would all support that as well.
No, thank you. I actually, I stunt doubled in a movie that's going to be released on April 2nd on Netflix called Concrete Cowboys. I did all the doubling work for Idris Elba in that movie. So for those of you,
yeah,
so
nice.
yeah, I was fortunate enough to double for the sexiest man alive. So I was honored there. No, just kidding. But no, so all jokes aside, that movie will be out April 2nd on Netflix. And it's a pretty cool film. So I'm excited to have been involved in that project. And it's about a group of Philadelphia Cowboys here in North Philly. So hope you all get an opportunity to check it out.
Yeah, definitely adding that one to the list. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like if anybody has any last minute questions, I know we have a few minutes left, so I guess I'll just ask this last one, and then if there are any others, feel free to send them in the chat, and if we have a few minutes. But this one is, I like this one. Is there a polo fan club chapter here in Colorado that we can join to support you when you come play in Colorado?
No, I'll certainly let you guys know when and if I get out and play in Colorado again. There's some great polo there in Colorado, especially the Denver Polo Club. I think there's a Columbine Polo Club as well, and there's a couple others. So if I'm in the area, I will let Natalie and everyone know, and would love to meet everyone in person if there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, that sounds great. Natalie, do we have time, or should we wrap it up? I know we're almost at time.
Yeah, I think we're almost there, but I did, there was one other one that was asking about how Cholo is doing.
Cholo is well. He is still at the barn. He's alive. He's healthy. Actually, one of the kids, I was playing polo last Saturday at the stables, and one of the young kids were riding him on the opposite team. But he is still a champion. I think you can certainly see the gray coming in on his face a little, but he's still going very strong, and hopefully he'll be around to teach a few more kids to play.
Excellent. So I think that we are, kind of good on time, and if there aren't any other questions, I think we will wrap it up. And again, just to let everybody know, we are going to be posting this on the YouTube channel for Medicine Horse. So feel free to share the link with folks who may not have had an opportunity to join us. You can also look in the chat area here if you want to buy Kareem's memoir. As I mentioned, that one will be a signed copy. And you can also learn more about the Work to Ride program. We did post that link as well in the chat area if you want to find out some more information on that wonderful organization. And other than that, I'm really thankful that y'all joined us, and Kareem, so grateful for your time, and absolutely inspired by everything you're doing, and hope to go for a ride with you here soon.
No, thank you so much. And I appreciate everyone who joined the conversation today. And, I look forward to getting back out west, and if it's riding with you guys or at a polo match. And, and again, I really appreciate everyone being part of tonight's event.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Very
All
grateful
right.
for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Okay,
Yeah.
take care. Stay safe.